See if it works.
I forgot to open the agenda for you though.
Okay,
I have to open another tab and go to the federal.org. Menu, yeah. Scroll down to the board. Education, so
Too far.
oh, did I go too far?
yeah. There you
Board
go.
of Education.
Scroll. There you go, board docs. The agenda from there. Sorry, that was complete oversight on my part.
Do I need to sign in?
And no, ma'am. Okay, so this will be the agenda. Perfect. And then if we go back to the Zoom screen, all of its place, I'm sorry. Next one over.
Oh,
Actually, sorry, bottom, at the very bottom, the little blue camera.
down here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on that. There you go.
I did not.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep. And then see where it says green share screen.
Yep.
Yep. Do that. And you can select select where it says Zoom. And say share. And then you just have to go to the board docs tab. There we go.
Good. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that, ma'am.
No, that's okay. My first time, so.
Thank you for doing this out.
Okay, we ready?
Mhm.
Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 Board of Education work session. Ms. Hegman, could you please call the roll? Oh, at 5:33 PM. Sorry.
Mrs. Reese,
Present.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Here.
Mr. Elam,
Here.
Mrs. Mansfield.
Here.
Mr. T.
Any additions to the agenda? It looks like no additions. Do we have any hearing of the public regarding agenda items? Now, are you watching?
Let me click over from time to time. I have no internet, so I cannot do it. It's fine. It's fine. Check on my phone though. Anybody else since we said no, 100%.
It's been sporadic today.
Yeah.
I haven't been here. I've been. I literally probably got back 20 minutes.
What'd you say?
Comments in the YouTube, not yet.
Thank you. Excellent. Appreciate you.
Okay, next up, important dates to know.
Okay, she's connected. Yeah, she's connected. We're not. Just taking it on large in charge. You want it? Move this down so you see the dates. Times.
So big highlights, of course, the Bethel Hog Roast is coming up Saturday. Some standard meetings, and then the first day of school for 1 to 12, August 24th, and the first day for kindergarten is August 26th. Come to the hog roast, lots of fun. August 7th.
Service, bless. I remember those days well. You're not worried at all. It'll be good though. It's always good to get energized with your school.
Okay, next up on the agenda, treasurer's items.
Okay, so this is my first meeting, so I apologize. I was not prepared. Yesterday, we weren't able to close the books because we had intermittent internet and you name it, we ran into issues. So I don't have any of the financials ready for today. So I have $457 to find. And I think, yeah, we can get that done tomorrow. So. And I will send everything out to the board early, and if you have questions, but I'll put them on the agenda as well, so.
Okay, did you have anything you want to say about the meeting minutes or donations?
These are the minutes from the July 6th meeting. We had the 12th and the 29th meeting, I think, as well, and Della's working on those, so we just, nothing that I have to add. Anything, Mr. Kurtz? right, and did we have donations? I don't think so.
It's just listed there as an option, but it doesn't have anything.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, first 2 days have been going okay. I haven't run out yet.
What we're doing.
It's been a little nerve wracking, as we go through the wiring project and phones not working, but that happens everywhere at the beginning of the school year. So we're doing pretty good. So.
Next up, number 6, superintendent's items requesting board action.
Good evening on the board agenda this evening for consideration or review is letter A, approval of retirement of certified staff. Mrs. Barb Peck. Mrs. Peck has served here the last several years as an intervention specialist, primarily housed in our middle school building. She also worked with several ninth grade students as well in the high school. Mrs. Peck had decided after 42 years of service and education, she had had some health issues with her mother-in-law, that she was going to stay home and take care of her. And so she has decided to retire from education. So we'd like to thank Mrs. Peck for her service to the district, the impact and influence that she had on our students. And she did a tremendous job for our district. And we wish her the very best in retirement. Letter B is the resignation of Mr. Ted Oldegas as our high school teacher in technology and design. Mr. Oldegas has been in the district for a handful of years, I think 5 in total. Did a very nice job with our students. Will be very missed with the programming. I think he did a nice job preparing our students with those different classes that he had offered. That position has been posted, and I've been working with high school principal, Mr. Swope, to kind of contact some of the local career tech centers to see if they may have any leads on people in this area with unique certifications that would take to teach them the classes. So that's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a hard miss programming wise. And we wish Mr. Oldegas the very best in future endeavors. Letter C is resignation of some classified staff. This is probably one that I should refer to Mrs. Rhodes, who is our transportation supervisor. But we have received resignation of a couple of bus drivers, Glenda Holland and Brenda Towser. I can't speak to why they resigned, but I could definitely reach out to Mrs. Rhodes and find out why if you have any questions. Amy Allen has decided to resign as elementary secretary with the resignations of previous resignations of Jody Petty and also Mary Roll. And then once again, transportation, Gwen Eisen, bus aide, not sure about that one either. Letter D is approval of certified administrators. We have a couple of our folks here this evening. We have a number of folks here that will be recognized. We kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up and background on each one of these two individuals. First off, we have Miss Carrie Jones, who's in attendance. She'll be serving as our elementary principal for this upcoming school year. She's a Wright State University graduate in elementary education. She received her master's degree from Antioch University in educational leadership. Her undergrad was in elementary ed, as I mentioned before, and administration is pre-K-9. She's taught at Fairborn Intermediate School between grades 3 and 5 for the last 21 years, I believe. And most recently has served as a literacy coach in the district, which I think is going to be a huge addition to our staff with the work that we've done with curriculum adoption and wisdom this last school year. And so she's directly worked with right around 40 staff members with literacy adoption, curriculum upgrades, also helping with scheduling and those kind of things. So I'd like to welcome Ms. Carrie Ann Jones to Bethel. Secondly, we have Mrs. Cassandra Shaw, Cassie, she goes by. She received her middle childhood education degree from the University of Toledo in math, science, and reading. I didn't write down a master's degree.
It's Wright State.
Wright State University, sorry about that. Experience-wise, she's taught at Wilder Intermediate at Piqua, Merlin Heights Elementary in Dayton, and since 2013 has been in the Tip City School District, teaching either 4th and 5th grade, and then most recently as a gifted intervention specialist. And she'll be serving as the elementary assistant principal. So I'd like to welcome Ms. Jones and Mrs. Schott to Bethel Local Schools. They were actually able to go up to Piqua today and participate in our summer Miami County in-service for all administrators. So they're able to not only network with other admins in the county, but also attend some professional development conferences, begin learning about OTED 2.0 if they haven't done so already, and some other hot topics in education, legal updates, technology in the classroom, and those kind of things. So I'd like to thank them for their time today and being there as well. Mr. Smith, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, tonight, one of the folks with us here is Mrs. Julie Gravitt. She's going to be the new athletic secretary, my administrative assistant in the athletic office, replacing Mrs. Butler. Julie is a graduate of Wayne High School and Sinclair Community College. Worked for a number of years in property management, and then has spent the last 9 years as the administrative assistant to the senior vice president of marketing at Reynolds and Reynolds. So a vast background in very high stakes, high pressure situations, I'm sure, which is par for the course in the athletic department. So very, very excited to have her on board. She's got some big shoes to fill in, Mrs. Butler. There is no replacing the knowledge that 20 years will give you, but with some kids in the district, being a Bethel Township resident, and her kids coming through the program as well, I'm sure we'll hopefully be sitting here in 20 years talking about how much time and effort she's put in here in Bethel Athletics.
Thank you. Also on the agenda this evening for consideration, I will have Mrs. Smith. She wasn't able to attend this evening. She'll be at our meeting next week. Rhonda Smith will be serving as the attendance clerk in the elementary building for next school year. Just a friendly reminder that our previous attendance clerk, Tiffany Pikus, was hired as a full-time kindergarten aide for next year. Mrs. Pikus had an education background and teaching experience, left to help raise her young children, and now that they're getting back in school, she kind of wanted to get back in the classroom. So we're excited about having Tiffany join us full-time next year. It's primarily a kindergarten aide. But Rhonda Smith brings some very unique skill sets and talent to Bethel local schools as well. She had worked for 21 years in Clinton Massey School District as their EMIS coordinator, and then had moved up to this area to help out with her mother-in-law with health issues as well, and had spent the last 4 years commuting to Wilmington City Schools as their guidance counselor secretary, where she dealt directly with House Bill 410, attendance, grade cards, all the issues that secretaries kind of deal with in that position. And with the drive and being up in the New Carlisle area now, and she saw this opening come up available, she had worked with Mr. Swope, our high school principal, directly, and went through the interview process. So really with the EMIS experience and a DASL experience, she's going to really be able to help us out in a lot of areas. And even if Mrs. Rose is unavailable, she can help out with EMIS too. So pretty lucky to be able to get her for an attendance secretary. She'll also be handling a lot of the new student enrollments that we have in the elementary building as well. So once you guys get in here, I'll be able to connect you with her, and she'll be able to help you out a lot with information on EMIS and DASL. I tried to say down the road, cross-training wise, if she had any interest in being an EMIS coordinator in the future, if we would need one, and I don't know, she's ready to fight that one off. You have to ask the question. So, but I'll have her here as well. Also on the agenda this evening for approval is for consideration Miss Morgan Wrench. Morgan is here this evening as well. She's in the back. Morgan will be joining our school system this year as our 6th kindergarten teacher. For the folks out in the crowd and those listening on the internet, with enrollment numbers this upcoming school year, we had to add a 6th section of kindergarten to try to keep those numbers manageable for the staff. We had been able to work under 5 sections of kindergarten. At the last count, we were in the mid 130s. And so we kind of get to the point with that age that you want to keep the numbers manageable for the staff, and especially their growth learning wise in the district. And so we felt like a 6th section of kindergarten was appropriate at this time. Morgan has an associate's degree from Sinclair Community College. She received her early childhood education degree from Wright State University. Morgan completed her student teaching at Concord Elementary in Troy. Spent the 2018 school year as a 1st grade teacher in Dayton Public Schools, and then most recently has served as a Title I reading teacher in Tip City Schools. Did I get all that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So Morgan is here this evening. She's also joined by her mother, who was gracious enough to accommodate her, join her, and come on down. So I'd like to welcome Morgan to our district as well. And then also on the agenda this evening for approval are some fall, winter, and non-sport supplementals. The first one is Mr. Robert. Is that correct? You want to talk about him a little bit, his background?
Mr. Sukul has pretty decent experience, specifically as a strength and conditioning coach. He has some CrossFit certifications as well as some U.S. Olympic lifting certifications as well. He most recently, and it's going to escape me, I don't have it in front of me, worked for a sports performance training company up in Columbus. Up in the Toledo area, wrong side of the state. And has spent some time at the YMCA doing junior high, specifically at the middle school level, strength and conditioning through the YMCA. Currently works as a corporate wellness coach for an insurance company. So he deals with corporate wellness initiatives and things of that nature. So a pretty significant background. He has a degree from the University of Toledo in exercise science. So he has a bachelor's degree in exercise science as a background as well. So a great addition to our staff. We're now treating this position as a head coach, as opposed to just a stipend for weight monitoring and things of that nature. So this position will be considered at the same level as a head boys basketball coach, a head football coach, things of that nature. So Mr. Sukul will be taking over all of the strength and conditioning for all of our athletes at Bethel local schools.
Second on the agenda is Mr. Jeffrey Moore, who will be serving as a middle school volunteer football coach. His resume is attached for the Board of Education to review. And then finally, we are taking our fall athletic director position. We're splitting it 50-50. We had a couple of people that were interested. Schedule-wise, it would work out best if they were able to divvy up the responsibilities to assist with junior high, mostly events in the fall, and that would be Chase Roulette and also Caleb South. So those are the agenda items on the agenda.
Those two are also obviously Chase is our head baseball coach. So him being a spring coach, being able to help out in the fall is good, and obviously Caleb being the girls basketball coach. I don't know if this is a good time to introduce Jack as well.
Yes,
yeah. Jack Brooks, Coach Brooks, is here with us this evening. I believe he was hired at the last board meeting as our head boys basketball coach with the departure of Coach Kinzer taking an administrative position at Northmont. Coach Brooks, also a graduate of Wayne, ironically a classmate of Mrs. Gravitt here at Wayne High School. Coach Brooks, also former military, spent some time in the middle school programs at Wayne and Beaver Creek, was the Beaver Creek varsity assistant for a year or two, spent some time at Stebbins as a middle school coach as well, and then also spent some time in the Centerville program. So first head coaching position for him. Most recently, obviously, he was our varsity assistant coach here at Bethel last year. So extensive background in basketball, very knowledgeable about the game of basketball, very excited to have him take over our program. One thing that I really appreciate about Coach Brooks is in the interim, when we were trying to go through the process of finding a new head basketball coach, in addition to applying for the position himself, he took over the reins basically all summer so that our boys basketball team didn't miss a beat. We're still able to come to workouts and kind of took over the team in an interim position. So very fortunate that he stuck around, was patient with us a little bit. And I think we're in the right place right now with the right person to take our program to another level.
Okay, we need a motion to place the items from the superintendent's report on the consent calendar.
That Daniel second.
Okay, any discussion? I just have one question. Is the so the attendance clerk with the EMS, that's excellent. Because EMS is so complicated. Is that still a part-time?
Yeah, it's right now it's like 8:30 to 11:30.
Okay.
It's mostly mornings to help with this, morning attendance for the elementary. So either calling to check in on kids on why they're not here, or taking phone calls from parents indicating that they're not here because of whatever reason that is. So they would work directly with the two principals, but also Mrs. Rhodes and Enos, and then also elementary secretary.
I'd just like to thank everyone who served before prior to the resignations, because honestly, it's difficult to find good staff in elementary and throughout all schools, honestly. It's difficult to find people who are willing to step up and serve in school districts. So we want to be thankful for those that do, and we understand when they need to depart. So thank you all for your time, whoever you were, and really big welcome to everybody new. That's awesome. Thank you so much for stepping up and joining our team. It's so great to have you here. Really welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Nice to meet you.
It's Cassie and Carrie or.
I'm gonna mess them up. I think when I called her on the phone, I called her Carrie. As soon as I did it, I went, oh, man.
So you're not gonna get upset if we. Carrie, Cassie, okay. Because I can just see.
My college roommate who's a Carrie,
Oh,
so
really?
I got that
There
one.
you go.
And I went to, I worked with the Shook. So
Okay.
are you shocked or shook?
Shock.
You're shocked, so that's gonna be tricky for me, so I'm gonna apologize in advance for that, so same spelling.
And I have one question for Dean.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we decided on a winter athletic director, or will that be hired closer to the time? Assistant. Sorry.
September, more than like, yeah, with another month. Mr. Clute has done it in the past, has done a phenomenal job in the winter. Really helped out last year. I know that he is interested in continuing that position. But that will be on September's agenda for consideration. That position.
And then Mr. Perks, where does this place us with our bus driver situation?
That's a great question. These,
I know everybody's always looking for bus drivers.
yeah, so these are relatively new. That's why I said I need to get a hold of Mrs. Rhodes. These are relatively new for me, so I wasn't aware. I do know that one of them has driven for quite a long time, and she had talked about through the course of the year retiring, but that was kind of up in the air. So I'm going to need to follow up with Gail tomorrow. Like I said, I wasn't here today. Didn't really get a chance to even look at the agenda until I came down here. So what I'll do is I'll follow up with her, and then I'll probably send you guys an email and let you know how we're doing on drivers, because I also asked for her to hopefully, I said the goal was to have the bus routes tentatively released for this week, with the asterisk that is pending change, because we know how it works. But I do know people are wondering what time their kids are going to be picked up and dropped off. So the sooner we can get those out, the better. So I will have that information to you, and I'll probably shoot you off an email and let you know about your.
I mean, I see it's kind of the tone of.
No, it's a good
right
question.
now that everybody's looking for drivers, so I
Yeah.
think we can pretty much say to the community now,
Yeah,
we're looking for drivers. I think that's safe, right?
yeah, that's absolutely.
Standing job posting.
We do. It's on our website all the time.
At least.
And
some-
occasionally,
something else.
A couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, I'll have Mrs. Ripley put out a graphic and saying, hey, help wanted, need bus drivers, contact central office if you're interested in driving, which has gained us a few drivers.
Sure.
So if you want to make an impact with kids, make a decent check. And then also, if you want to go to events, we're always looking for event drivers or route drivers as well. So just have to get your CDL and pass the drug screen and do your driver's training.
And we help with that,
Yeah, we pay for that.
see?
We pay for reimbursement of all that.
Which is excellent. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, any further discussion?
They care.
No, it's just the way the tables are straight. I wish we could just like curve them just a little so we could all see.
We could, if you guys want a different setup, we can do that. If you prefer to have 2 in the middle and then the end 2 curve, we can do.
Well, even if it was just a little
Just
bit,
slanted.
you know,
Okay.
just slanted a little
All right.
bit. It's
Absolutely.
just hard to lean out, then when I lean out, then they can't slant. Okay, Mrs. Hagan, please call the vote.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. King is.
Okay, we need a motion to adopt the consent calendar with items for this.
I'll say.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Danny, for the second. Any discussion? Ms. Hagan, please call the roll.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. King is out.
Okay, next up is,
Remember to do both.
welcome to everybody. I'm so glad, since I'm playing Jacob tonight and he has such a gift for thanking people, I'm so glad that lighted.
But normally,
Yes,
it's
thanks to
normally
the people
Mrs.
who-
Sebastian, so I figured I'd steal it from her while I had an opportunity. She's
Yes.
so good with the thank yous.
Thank you for those who served and welcome. Okay, next up, number 7, superintendent's items.
Before I get started, you guys are free to stay or you can exit stage right. You so choose.
I understand they're not as pleasant for everybody as they are, so.
You don't have to, but.
Pleasure meeting all of you.
You too, thank you again so much. Welcome aboard.
So, yeah.
Item number 7 is leave of absence for Mrs. Jenny Strobridge for FMLA purposes. So as our new principals have been hired this evening, I will forward on the information that was left by previous administration in regards to the substitute teachers that will be filling in from that August 19th to November 1st date. So we wish Mrs. Strobridge the best with their expected delivery date. Review of change and supplemental for non-teaching. This is simply just a swap out in staff members for the elementary student council advisor. Lauren Rudd will be replacing Megan Baker, who recently departed as a 5th grade teacher and took a position in Urbana local schools or Urbana city schools where she resides. We also have a change in educational degree status, which is also Mrs. Strobridge. So she is moving from a bachelor's 150 to a master's. Her step is included, and you can also see her salary amounts. Letter D is review of gate worker compensation. So this was the hourly rate that we utilized last year for gate workers as well. That will continue this year also at $12 an hour for athletic events for the 21-22 school year. And then letter E will be one as a review, but it will be officially approved also at our next meeting. And so we're very excited to be able to start gaining some of our agreements for our athletic stadium project that we have going on. These folks have donated graciously to our project. Are they good to be officially announced?
Yeah. These folks are, yes.
Yes, yeah.
These folks are,
These folks are.
yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that's not up here is not yet, and I
Correct.
can talk inconspicuously about that one if you need.
Correct. Well, just we're on camera, so watch what you say. The first one is concrete sealants. They have graciously stepped up and I'll let Mr. Smith speak about each one.
Yeah, so concrete sealants, one of our major industries right down here on 201, has taken the naming rights for the track. That was $100,000 naming rights for 15 years. So it will officially in all publications be referred to as Concrete Sealants Track at Bethel local stadium, at Bethel Stadium. And in addition to that, there's a connection to the next one. Howard Wingert is the CEO of Concrete Sealants. His wife, Cindy, her father was the original, was basically the founder of Concrete Sealants. And as a way to honor their father or her father and his influence in the community in Bethel Township and some of the things that he envisioned for the community with keeping Bethel Township, and all of his efforts in that concrete sealants is still continuing on today. They wanted to honor him by buying the naming rights in his honor as Bob Heyman Field. So Howard and Cindy personally donated the $100,000 as in memoriam of Cindy's father, Bob Heyman, the founder of Concrete Sealants. And then Garmin Miller, our architect for our new construction for the stadium and the K-5 building has taken an advertisement sponsorship on the scoreboard. And we officially got that contract back as well. We have 4 scoreboard spots that have been sold. That was the first contract agreement that has come back.
So where does that kind of roughly put us at? You know, not talking about the companies that are kind of still in the works with getting a contract back.
Yep.
Where does that put us at roughly with fundraising dollars?
So one of the other ones that's they're put an article in the paper already. We haven't received the signed agreement back yet. The other one was the TIP Foundation. But they have taken the naming rights to the stadium walkway and pavilion. And then the stadium naming rights is been committed, waiting on the signed contract. That one's a little bit more time consuming because of the nature of the contract with that particular entity. For the $250,000 for the stadium naming rights, they actually, in conversations with them, and which is why it's taken a little bit longer to get that one back. They do not want to officially take the stadium naming rights aspect of it. They don't want it to be called Company XYZ Stadium. They just want to be the premier sponsor. So that will allow us to continue to name the stadium Bethel Stadium, presented by such and such. Conversations with them potentially of whether or not they would allow us to open up the actual stadium naming rights again. I'm going to leave that up to them though. They are still committed to the $250,000, which is what the stadium naming rights were for. But if they are willing to, for a potential community member in memoriam, kind of like what the Wingert family did or the Heyman family did with the field, we could potentially be in a situation where we could approach that with someone else for stadium naming rights again. But that particular entity is still committed to the $250,000. So with all of that said, and some of the scoreboards, we're sitting at roughly $625,000 committed. We have 100, 200, and 230,000 on the screen right now, with the 250 that's out there for the presenting sponsor. That puts us over close to 500, and the Tip City Foundation another 25. So we're sitting right at that 600 to 625 range. I don't have my spreadsheet right in front of me. I ran in here I was out watching football practice and dealing with some stuff out there. So I didn't have a chance to grab it, but we're right at that 625 mark. From the Bethel Legacy Wall standpoint, the Bethel Grand Legacy aspect, as of right now, we're still at $10,000, 10 folks for the $1,000. A little bit of a slow start, but I think maybe some of that has to do with it being summer months. And we sent out postcards. We've launched the website. Everything's out there for donations. And I think as we start to come back into school and we get folks at athletic events, the athletic boosters this weekend on Saturday are going to have a legacy booth set up at the Hog Roast to hand out information to community members for both the Grand Legacy Wall and just the community donations aspect of it, to try and generate some interest and help start spread the word. I think doing this tonight and kind of putting this information out there and moving forward, starting to publicize some of our major sponsors, I think that might also generate some interest as well. I did have another meeting today at 2:00 with Liz Sonnenstein, who is a part of the Legacy Committee and also the TIP Chamber Director. We had another meeting today, a very good positive meeting with another legacy group in Bethel that took the time, we'll just say they took the time to listen, and I think are very excited and interested in the project that we're doing. It's the second time that we've met with them, and the first time was just with a small group, and this was with the entire board that would make the decision. So hopefully we hear something in the future, near future, from them as well. So yeah.
Good news. Off to a great start. Like we mentioned, hopefully having a table at the Hog Roast will generate some interest. Be able to distribute some flyers and information. It's a great community event. It's well attended by the folks here in Bethel. It's another opportunity for us to start to get this information out and generate some additional interest as people see that there's some major sponsors out there that are committing to kind of the vision the school system and the school boards have for the future of our facilities. So good time.
Booster Club is planning on having that booth set up at multiple athletic events and handing out stuff throughout the fall season. I've already got in-game announcements and stuff about it so that as people are there and whatnot, I've got all that stuff ready to go for the fall season. Boys soccer, girls soccer, volleyball, football, all of our middle school events. So that stuff we're gonna blast it. We need help. We're getting there.
I just have a couple questions. One
Yeah.
is, I know the attorney has reviewed the agreement form, correct? So we're
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
And do we send it then again with it filled in, or we're,
I think that's the commissioning
The
agent.
next step is, once we have these received and approved next week, we need to send them to our bond counsel, Jennifer Blazer.
okay,
And then she just has to keep track, because remember, we're only allowed to raise a certain percentage.
right,
So once it's not approved tonight, but once it's approved next week at our board meeting, the next day we'll email that off to her so she has a copy of it for her records.
okay. And then my other question was, did those postcards include the businesses in the area and maybe city businesses by any chance, or?
We use the mailing
We use
list
the mailing list
from
for
the,
this
from
one.
the district. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that could be something that could be considered as,
I do know, I'm assuming that it did, because I do know the folks that we spoke to today received it at their business. If that helps. So I would, knowing that, I'm assuming any address in Bethel local schools that we send out mailers to, that's who received it. And I would assume that would be businesses as well. Tip City local, I don't think it went to Tip City, within Tip City School District,
right,
but,
Tip City itself, I know,
Yes.
is
right,
kind of part of Tip City.
right, correct.
Okay, next item for discussion.
I wasn't.
I didn't, I think Rob put it on there, but it's the OSBA Capital Conference. He wanted to remind everybody that that's coming up in November. November 7th through 9th, and registration is beginning and is open. So those of you that are interested in attending, let me know. We'll get everybody's registration and I'll check and see, but I think we need to get that on the board agenda for approval to attend, or I don't know, depends on your board policy. I gotta go back and look. Yeah. So just let me know if you'd like to attend the Capitol Conference and what days, and so we can get you registered. And if you're spending the night, I can try and grab a hotel room if they have them available. It's always so much fun. So yeah, just let me know. He just wanted to remind everyone, and I'm glad he put that on there because I would have forgotten as well. So.
Do you know when the board meeting already? Or we didn't know this was coming in person?
It is in person this year, yeah.
We will usually move it to the following week if everybody can come, but I put it this year.
We have. Yeah, November 8th. Yeah.
So we're gonna do the November 8th, and also the November 2nd meeting would be on voting day.
Yeah. Yeah, I can send you out some dates, and if you like, we can put it on the agenda for next week to revise the board meeting schedule.
Just be nice to do it a little in advance so people have
Yes.
warning.
And I do have one addition. I didn't realize it didn't make it on. We need to talk about levies. I don't know if that can be put on one. Coming up in November, what we're gonna do, who's on the committee and all that. I can't get to my email, but I had 2 or 3 bullets about that. So
Yeah, I think there was some confusion about what we can and cannot discuss about the levy during the board meeting, so, yeah. you know, so we wanted to sort of step lightly there. Yeah, I just needed to know who was on the levy committee and how we could, you know, how I could assist if they needed financials or anything like that, and see what we can do. Yeah.
Danny, do you know if Rachel's still willing to chair? Can you check with her?
I'll check. I don't know that, I don't know that it's a slam dunk. She'll be student teaching and possibly working in Dayton City. This fall. So I'm not sure.
I think
I'll
if,
get back.
yeah, let Mr. Ferks and I know who we need to reach out to, if anyone, to help, if they need any information about those items coming up, so. To possible.
I'll send Justin an email.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Possible executive session. David, I think you wanted one for number one. For the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, or compensation of an employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, licensee, or student, unless the employee, official, licensee, or student requests a public hearing. That's number one. Anything else? I think we have another one for number one, too. Okay.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're covered.
Right, yeah, I'm just saying my house. Any other numbers? I'm going out to see if you can shake in. No. Okay, do we have a motion to go to executive session?
I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Second. I'll second. Seconded by Lyda, thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Hagan, let's call the vote.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. King is absent.
Time into executive session, 6:13. Any need for bed?
No.
We do not anticipate a vote. I don't need executive session.
Good night. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
So.
No, it's because I had already opened it, so it's.
No,
Sometimes it'll do that, sometimes it'll say you're not connected.
So, yes, click stop the share,
I am not.
and then we'll go back, the three dots